What is going on with the New York Yankees right now, Buster?
The worst offense that the Yankees have put out there in our lifetime, which is saying something because, of course, this is a franchise which typically has had great offenses. But when you think about the numbers, they start today 25th out of 30 teams in runs scored. They have the lowest runs per game since 1972, the lowest team batting average since 1968. They lead the majors in hitting into double plays. They lead the majors in outs on the bases. It's really bad. And look, when you see the Yankees booed off the field repeatedly by their own fans in Yankee Stadium, there's no question it's crisis mode time. And I'm going to be really curious to see what the response of the Yankees front office to all this is, and whether or not they dig into possible external solutions.
Well, what could that be? I mean, what could it possibly be with an external solution? I mean, I guess now would be normally the time where you can start looking over the steering wheel for a trade deadline and see what could be out there. But I don't know. That's so. What blanks can you fill in there on that front?
Well, first off, I think if you're Brian Cashman, the general manager of the Yankees, your priorities have to be improved athleticism and more balance in what is an incredibly right-handed hitting Yankees lineup. Historically, the Yankees have had success with left-handed hitters, and somehow last night against a right-handed starter, they're rolling out a lineup with 8 right-handed hitters. So a guy to watch, I think, in the weeks ahead, and I don't know if the Yankees will get him, but I'm sure that if they haven't already gone into conversations about him, they will. Ketel Marte of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Like right now, there are not a lot of teams out and essentially informing other teams are ready to sell, but it's a disastrous year for the Diamondbacks. They're in a really tough division. Ketel Marte's value never going to be higher than it is now. He's a switch hitter. He can play center field. He's hitting .376. And on top of that, for the Yankees, he actually has a really affordable contract. 2 team options in 2023 and 2024. And that actually is important for the Yankees right now because to this point, Hal Steinbrenner, their owner, has not approved the Yankees going over the competitive balance threshold at $210 million. The Yankees' payroll this year is about where it was in 2005. So we'll see where Hal Steinbrenner goes with the payroll this year.
Well, I mean, if Hal's dad was alive, what the conversation would be about the general manager and the manager right now. I think the hitting coach would have been already gone. And then, of course, the home plate umpiring of last night's game, Buster Olney, where Odor took a ball 4 that would have loaded the bases in the bottom of the 9th, and instead Gabe Morales called it strike 3. I mean, it was easily one of the worst calls that was nationally televised this year. What happens with something like that? Does baseball do something about? I mean, I know how the NFL handles calls and reviewing it. We know the NBA has their 2-minute report. What happens after something like that last night in baseball?
Nothing.
Okay, then. Well, that's not okay, but.
Well, and I got to say, like the home plate umpire last night actually had a good night up until that call. He'd been pretty good, but that was a terrible call. In the time I covered the NFL for 1 year in 2002, and it was shocking to see the different cultures of that sport versus Major League Baseball. Look, earlier this year we had repeated mistakes made with instant replay, and there was no acknowledgement for Major League Baseball that those mistakes were made. So last night, home plate umpire makes a bad call. He gets a report today on the electronic, basically evaluation of what his game was, and then it goes away. You wish that it would change in baseball. And about George Steinbrenner and how he would have handled these things, you're right. He made changes all the time in season with managers, with coaches. The Yankees have not changed the manager in season since 1990. It's a completely different culture, I think, since Brian Cashman took over as GM in '98. I am going to be curious to see at the end of this year, where Hal Steinbrenner goes and how he's feeling about the direction of the franchise.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.